Welcome to Women Engage. Thank you for joining us on our program today. We've got a very interesting topic to talk about. Today, we're talking about pornography. I want, first of all, to introduce our panelists to you. Welcome, ladies. I'm going to ask you to just tell us your name and the country that you come from. And I'll begin. My name is Jocelyn Isabidi, and I come from Uganda.
My name is Debbie Maloba. I come from Democratic Republic of Congo.
I am Josephine Gano. I come from Ghana.
Rose Misati. I come from Kenya.
Okay, thank you, ladies. First of all, I want to begin by just giving us a definition of pornography so that we all know what we're talking about. So pornography is visual, oral, or written material that is intended to incite sexual desire. So that's the definition, working definition we're working with. And I want to first begin with a question. It might be one that the audience is thinking about. You know, we usually think that pornography is a male problem. Why is it important for us on Women Engage, on a woman's show, to be talking about pornography?
Men are more predisposed to pornography because they are more visual than women. However, who are these men? Our husbands, our sons, our brothers, our significant others. So in one way or another, all of us are affected.
And some of us, women, are also engaged in pornography. Yes. And we may not do it for the same reasons as the men do, but it might be other reasons. For example, we might, it's very common now for, particularly among young people, you know, to be sexting, you know, sending sexually provocative texts and taking images that are sexually provocative. And we may not do it for the same reasons that the men do it, but it might be a way of forming attachment with our significant others. And so we're involved in it as well. And the overwhelming majority of people that are used in pornography are women. They are our daughters, they are our sisters. So it is something that affects us. I just want to give you some really shocking statistics that tells us why this is an important topic for all of us to be discussing, even in our homes. The average age of the first-time contact of pornography among sex addicts, people who are addicted to sex, is 11. That's from the American Family Association. A primary pornography consumer group is boys between ages 12 to 17. 9 out of 10 children aged between 8 and 16 have viewed pornography on the internet. So in most cases, this is unintentional. A child, maybe when they're doing homework and they're doing research, they put in an innocent word and this comes, okay? The number of television sexual scenes has almost doubled since 1998, according to this research. 70% of all shows have some sexual content, averaging 5 sexual scenes per hour compared to 56% and 3.2 scenes per hour compared to 1998. And this is according to a Kaiser Family Foundation study. And this also includes programming that is supposed to be for children and young people. So this is a real issue. So if it's not one that is affecting you, it could be you need to be aware so you can protect your family, and it could be that you're just blind to the fact you might find in your own home pornography is already there. So what's wrong with pornography? Why is it such? Why do we look at it so negatively? What are the issues?
First of all, pornography is an addiction. It's a behavioral addiction, just like the way people are addicted to drugs and substances. So somebody has this irresistible desire to do more and more. It has far-reaching emotional consequences, and it leads to low self-esteem, somebody not being able to concentrate in their day-to-day activities because they have the craving. They have to have porn and have more of it. And most of the time, they're doing it in hiding because of the shame. Some of them even spend money that is meant for something else to acquire, these materials.
Just like
for
any
porn.
addiction.
Yes, and it even affects their productivity at work or even school because they spend time in porn. And then it even affects interpersonal skills because people spend time in porn at the expense of spending time with family and friends.
Now, what would you say to a woman who says, well, I'm married, you know, sex is a natural part of marriage, it's holy. The Bible tells us that the marriage bed is holy. I want to spice up my married sex life. So I want to introduce, or I have introduced pornography into our intimacy to spice up our marriage. What would you say to a woman who says that?
I think it is artificial. It is a myth. You look at it and you think it is natural, it is real, but it's just like any movie. It is faked and it is not really real. So it is not really a good source of spicing up your marriage. If you want to spice up your marriage, spice it with your husband. I mean, try something yourself, be intimate, and that is more lasting than looking at something that is not so real and you want to be there because they set the standard so high and you want to try and God knows how many times they have shot that,
that scene to make it perfect, the right angle, to make sure there are no noises that sound
so
annoying.
And it's so perfect and everything is fake.
Looking so perfect and polished.
Everything is fake. There's no enjoyment actually, but they portray it as something so enjoyable, but it is fake. So it is so artificial.
Yeah, it is so artificial, and I can even say that this show is an eye-opener. Because sometimes we don't figure out how it affects even your body, your physical body. You see, these things are not normal. And when a woman practices it, it has consequences.
I also wanted to mention that the people who are involved in shooting the pornography and the ones who watch, it's actually an addiction. It's not natural for us to want to be filmed in our very intimate moments, and it's not natural to want to watch people who are naked in their intimate moments. So the people who want to expose, it's an addiction called exhibitionism. And those who want to watch, it's called voyeurism. They want to watch other people when they are naked. So these things are closely tied, but they are not natural in the human mind that I want to be seen this way and I want to watch other people this way.
And also, Rose, I want to add something. What amazed me when sometimes I read it, you see, those who are used, most are women who are used to do it, to present it. And sometimes they are being given drugs.
Yeah, and also talking about drugs, it's actually what we call a comorbidity, behavioral addiction and drug addiction. Because you can't do this for so long when you're sober. You have to be high on something to keep on doing it. So it's closely linked.
Yeah, it's linked.
And also, maybe just to add on to what you've already said, for someone who wants to, bring this to spice up their intimacy, it's actually been found, the psychologists have found pornography actually inhibits intimacy. For people who become addicted to pornography, it actually disrupts the relationship that they have with their spouses. And the thing with any addiction, the dangerous thing with any addiction is you need more and more and more and more and more to get the same high. If you were able to take a glass of alcohol and it gave you the buzz that you needed, maybe it was just wine. Now you need something, you need several glasses, or you need something stronger. And it's the same with pornography. And that's where you hear the term soft porn, hard porn. And some of the things, when you look at the levels at which they escalate and grow, they actually involve things that, like you were saying, they're not human. And in many countries, even in the West, where people are more liberal about sexuality, many of these things are illegal. And so you find, things like bestiality being introduced, things like pedophilia being introduced. All kinds of perversions are introduced because people need more and more and more to get the same high. So for my sister out there who might be thinking this is a way of spicing up my marriage, you might actually find it's not spicing up your marriage, it's destroying it. Because it starts by, yes, the two of you are sharing it and you're enjoying it, but there are certain lies that pornography tells us. And one of them that it tells us is that, sex with anyone under any circumstances any way it's desired is beneficial. It has no negative impacts. So that husband who you're watching porn with, next time he'll be having sex with someone in his office because he needs that. You're stimulating something which you will not be able to control.
Yeah, and also what I have seen in my line of work, because pornography puts unrealistic expectations on somebody. So for the side of the man, because naturally they are not able to perform like the man they're watching, they are forced to use sex-enhancing drugs, which have very severe side effects. And some have even died, especially the older men, when they use these sex-enhancing drugs to perform like the 20-something-year-old they are watching. Yeah, it can cause even death.
In pornography, you never see family structures. You don't see healthy family structures. So another very disturbing message that pornography gives us is that marriage, family, children inhibit sexual intimacy and fulfillment and enjoyment. And that's not a healthy, that is not a healthy message. It also conveys, particularly to our young people, that everyone is promiscuous. Because in pornography, that's the depiction. You know, sex goes anyhow, anyway. And our society, and people are beginning to realize, even in the secular world, that these things are dangerous because they're leading to behavior that you think, you know, is that normal? You know, like you were talking about people being voyeurs, you know, that they have to watch and then they want to watch others. And so sometimes you will hear of people who are, you know, of a gang rape or a rape, and then you'll see people watching. And then people are watching while someone is that natural that you would enjoy watching that? It has to start from somewhere. Yes. Or people who have to be, you know, to have to exhibit. They can't enjoy sex in a private, intimate setting. Yes. It has to be in a public place where the adrenaline starts pumping because you might get caught. I remember some years ago reading about a couple, this was in the UK, who were having sex on the highway, on the motorway. And they were run over because the truck didn't see them. They were run over by a truck. And you think, what kind of a human being would do that? But it's because you need to have that excitement. It needs to be a place that is unexpected. So this is feeding into all of these unnatural.
Another couple also had a habit of shooting themselves on camera when they're having intimacy and putting the tape somewhere. So their child picked and thought it's one of those, and the child was watching 4 years, 6, and they came in and they found their child watching them, intimate. The husband and wife, the parents. The parent, is that real? Yeah, and also I wanted to mention that by watching porn, it excites the sexual desires. And now that we are talking about women, then we find women purchasing sex toys. So they use vibrators so that they can be able to quench the sexual desires that are stimulated by watching pornography.
And I think also another important thing, a negative effect that pornography does is the way that it depicts women. You know, it's a very, very unhealthy portrayal of women. Women have only have one value as a sexual object. You know, they are like toys. They are used for sport. I think that's very dangerous. A woman's value depends on her physical attractiveness, and the physical attractiveness is the way it's depicted. In those, there's a particular type of beauty and the type of body and shape that is attractive and the rest are not. And then also I think there's this, the fantasy rape, you know, that women actually like to be raped, that a woman says no, she doesn't mean no. She wants to be forced. And those are the kind of things that are propagated in pornography, which are very harmful. We know in our society these things are happening, rape, and they're not taken seriously, but because the images that they're seeing, you know, women enjoy being raped, that sex fantasy. So those are very, very harmful.
Yes, Jocelyn. How can a woman, with all the respect, with all the power God has given to her, how can she accept to be raped? How can she, all the value and even enjoy? We need to think and help our sisters.
So awareness is very important when they are very young. It needs to begin when they are very young.
There's also something you've said, Debbie, that has made me think of another consequence, another negative consequence of pornography that we hadn't talked about. And that's the spiritual. When you are engaged in something repeatedly that you have an awareness is wrong, what it does is it creates a block in your spiritual life between you and God. I think most people have this sense of it's not right. And that's why most people, you find, they hide it.
They hide.
Because if it was something that was okay, why not
And
do
they
it
would
in
not
the open?
proudly say,
Yes.
I do this.
Yes. So many people have that, it's something that they do in secret. It's not something that they are proud of. So even if they are not regular church goers, or there's a sense that what I'm looking at is wrong. And as you repeatedly keep ignoring the voice of the Holy Spirit telling you that what you're doing is wrong, you become in danger of committing the unforgivable sin, where the Holy Spirit can now no longer speak to you. And now the problem is, it's not only the pornography now. When the Holy Spirit is not speaking to you, you can do anything. You can do anything because God is no longer a part of your life. So I think that's another negative consequence. So now we've said, okay, that pornography is actually a dangerous thing. But how can we protect ourselves? I did a talk on pornography at my school, and I asked my students, the younger ones, these were 7th, 8th graders, and I asked them, I said, no judgment or whatever, just be honest. How many of you have seen? I'm not saying you went and looked for it necessarily, but you've just seen porn. And 3/4 of the class raised their hands, both boys and girls. And then later they actually wanted to talk about it. I was supposed to be teaching English, but we ended up going, because we had been discussing it in our chapel talks, and I had done a chapel talk for an entire week. And then they wanted to share. So I allowed them to share, and they were sharing with me how they came to. And most of them, it was not that they went looking for it. So even as parents, how do we protect our children from this danger?
What I would say, the first thing is to make a covenant with your eyes as a parent that you will not look at pornographic material. Number 2, to create awareness, to start talking to the children when they're very young. I started talking to my children when they were very young, maybe 4 years. So a few years ago, we went up country. Up country is where people think such things don't happen. So at some point, because there was no TV, they went to another house to visit their cousins. When they went, they came back running. So they were running. I'm asking, why are you running? They said, Mommy, you should just know. Akina so-and-so, they are on the laptop. And they were on the laptop, and the parents thought they are probably doing something. They're on the laptop, and they're images of naked people, what you have been telling us not to watch. And they ran out, and they told me. I was very glad because I had had a very candid talk. Because if I hadn't, they were going to, want to look because they would be curious. But then now, in a way, that helped me. So talk to them candidly and openly, and be the prime sex educator of your child. Because if you don't, somebody will do it, and you don't know how they will do it.
I just want to say something to both points that you've made. The first point you made is that you as a parent need to make that covenant. And it's very important because especially in homes, if you're using a family laptop, the thing with these, the way the internet works and these cookies and the things that follow us, if I as the adult look at pornographic type of material, what happens is when my child goes on YouTube to even watch a Christian choir, all these recommendations start coming up. He didn't look for them, but because daddy used the laptop, looked at this kind of thing, closed it, shut it down, now, they bring you, once you start looking at certain types of things, they keep bringing you similar types of things. So your child will actually be affected because of your use, and they get exposed to things. And I think it's also very important that we're willing, and in our African context, we're not very open about talking about sexuality. But we need to be aware that our children need to learn these things.
I encourage parents, the reason why you're not comfortable is because of your past. How probably it was taught to you, what you went through. So it's important to confront whatever baggage you may be carrying, you deal with it so that you can be of use to your children in that area. I know a series of books called Life Begins Like This, and it teaches sexuality to children under 10 in a Christian, very friendly and scientific way with a lot of pictorials. They are very, very helpful. Something else I wanted to mention, because we have talked about the parents making a covenant, talking to the child, relatives. like in our African context. Setup. Many times we live with our relatives. We have childminders, nannies, and house helps. Last year, I had hired somebody. Then I realized that she kept staying in her bedroom. Anytime she's free, she's in her bedroom. So I kept calling her from the bedroom. Every time she was on her phone, even when she's cooking. Then I would tell her, keep the phone because it's not clean as you're making chapati. But it was very hard. And I felt uncomfortable. So I decided to investigate. Then I realized that my daughter was getting attached to her phone. You know, my children don't have phones. But I discovered she was giving my daughter her phone. And my daughter would go with the phone to her room, you know. So I fast forward, I was able to find out that this girl, she was mature. She was actually addicted to pornography. And that's why she kept on going to her room all the time. She kept on doing work with her phone. I quickly just had to release her, and I was able to talk to my child. Yes. So it's important for us to be vigilant what is happening in our households to keep our children safe.
Yeah, but also let's also talk about churches. You know, sometimes, Jocelyn, I don't know if you have heard about it. When you bring such topics, leaders are not ready. They are not ready to talk about it because they think by talking on those topics, you are a kind of encouraging. I have testimonies, Jocelyn, how I wish that leaders who are just listening to this show will come back and help us.
Yeah, Jocelyn, I still want us to go back to talking to our children because I think it's very, very important. You know, this age, because of technology, we can't do much. Whether you like it or not, your children are exposed to technology. So I believe in talking, but I also want us to be so open to our children that they will be willing to come and tell us, you know, how they feel about these issues, just like you said with your children. So that even when they see it, they should not be afraid, you know. And sometimes we create some barriers, you know, between our children to the extent that instead of coming to tell mommy, she would rather go and tell a friend or somebody else.
I know someone who went and asked their mother, Mom, someone told me, let's do such and such a thing. It was, you know, about sexual behavior. And innocently came and told the mother beat her.
So next time,
beat her.
So so you can guess what will happen next time. And I think one thing we can also do, even though we are in the age of privacy, we should be able to go to our children's room without permission.
Yes. Yeah,
you know, sometimes we think, you know, this age is different from ours, you know.
Yes.
You have to knock. You have to ask permission. Sometimes they lock their doors.
Yes.
No, this is our house.
Yes.
I mean, so
yes. And also, you've talked about technology, Josephine, and I think it's important that we know how to deal with technology. So on our televisions, on our laptops, there are parental controls that you can put. You need to learn about these things. Go on Google and learn, how do I put parental controls on my internet.
Some children say they even know how to put it more than you.
Yes, of course, because they know the technology.
Unlock.
But the thing is, you have a password that you don't give them. Yes? And then also, you know, put the computer in a public place. Don't allow the kids to be behind locked doors. Have rules. You know, if your child has a phone, tell them, I need to know your password. So that anytime, and I have the right, I bought the phone, I have the right. At any time, I can pick up your phone and I know your password and I can check what you're looking at. We need to be vigilant because the devil is vigilant and he's after our children, seeking to destroy them. So we need to know how to protect our children.
And we can be checking histories from time to time. Yes. We should be checking the histories. Let's visit where our children are visiting, all family members where they are visiting.
And can we be their friends also on Facebook?
Where they are visiting.
Can be their friends on Facebook.
Yeah, be their friends on Facebook. And
the one for husband is very tricky. The one for checking where our husbands are visiting. It's very tricky. It's a very tricky one. It's a good one, but it's very tricky.
I think this all, in terms of a marriage, it has to do with communication. I mean, why? I mean, if my husband has a password and I'm not allowed to know it, I'm not allowed to pick up the phone.
Danger signs
I remember
already.
somebody, you know, these WhatsApp videos someone sent. Someone sent a WhatsApp video. There was a phone ringing, and the table was here, the lady was here, and the man was in the bathroom. And the lady reached to get the phone. The way the man ran from the bathroom to grab the phone before she could touch the phone, you know, that shows that there's a problem. Yes. You know, you're having secrets from one another. A signal. Yes. Now, ladies, unfortunately, we've run out of time. Yes. There's so much that we could, you know, talk about this topic. But as we finish up, I just want you to think about a last thing that you can say on this topic, either addressing it to someone who might be involved in pornography, or a parent who you think might be concerned, whichever audience you wish to address it. We'll start with you, Rose.
I would like to talk about anybody who may be addicted. Pornography, just like any addiction, has far-reaching emotional consequences. However, our God is a God of restoration. While the best would be not to get into it in the first place, prevention being better than cure, but even when you're in it, it's not over. Yeah? God can restore you to the original state if only you're willing. Get out, get an accountability partner, and a purpose to get out of it. It is possible.
I also want to address women who are being used as sex objects for porn. I want you to note that you are a woman of value, you are priceless, and don't allow yourself to be used just for sex, for reckless sex, for porn. It is not right. And talk to someone if you feel helpless, and I'm sure you will get help.
Yes, mine is to help those women who do not know, who will maybe listen to this one and they will discover that, wow, I never knew about it. Try to have a communication so that you may even help your husband or your wife who is already addicted. It will bring harmony in your life, and it will also save you.
My last word is, there are so many things we could have said about this topic we haven't even had a chance to touch on. Educate yourself, go online, find a good book, learn how to protect yourself and your family, learn how to get the help that you need. Thank you for joining us on our program today. We hope that you've been blessed, and we look forward to you joining us on another one of our programs. Remember to engage with us, engage with the topic by looking for us on Facebook. Look for Women Engage. Until next time, God bless you.